mentioned, 2012, Melbourne, Australia. We are here and honored. In fact, I have heard a ton about this guy. In fact, on the way here, one of my buddies was telling me about how awesome his product is. He's one of the founders of Daygame.com, pretty legendary dude from England. We have Yad. What's up, my man?
Hey, mate.
We got some cool video and all
Hey,
that
mate.
stuff.
All right.
What's
Thank
up,
you.
man?
Thank you so much
You
for
got it.
inviting
You got
me.
it.
Thank you. Thank you for that welcome. And yeah, I just generally feel welcomed here in Melbourne. It's absolutely amazing just being here. You know, just a simple boy from London, really. That's what I am. And you know, that's. I think I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about that. Actually, coming from my humble beginnings in London town, you know, not knowing anything about girls or just like having really, really bad social skills, you know, just generally. And I've got to say, this thing behind me, this title, Daygame, kind of changed everything for me. And I can't sort of emphasize that enough, because I'm just a completely different bloke, completely different man because of my trials and tribulations and the hard graft that goes into, you know, coming up in something like the activity of Daygame. So I'm just going to talk you through the essentials today. We've had a few speakers from Daygame.com actually like talking a lot about that, and I'm sure very good other speakers talking about Daygame. But what I'm going to concentrate on today is literally the toolkits, what you really need to get off the ground, and some real practical know-how, which I think is really, really like, you know, basically the essentials to start things off. And I'm going to show you a bit of footage as well, because when I was in just, you know, going around Melbourne yesterday, I just saw so many opportunities, and I thought I'd rather show, you know, me doing it in Melbourne for real, rather than bringing a video from London. And so, yeah, you know, you've got that to look forward to as well. A bit of actual footage from Daygame in Melbourne, so that'll be exciting. So let's just crack on. I'm not very good at this, to be honest, so I sound like a wannabe school teacher, so forgive me for that. So, okay. The hard graft, I spoke a little bit about that, but what that essentially means is, like, I'm not going to sell something to you. I'm not going to fob you off on this. Daygame is hard. It's a lot harder than night game, because with night game you get a lot of stimulus all around you. So you get all these like amazing bits of like things that trigger off certain emotions. So seeing girls in skirts, perhaps like just high on life a little bit because it's a Saturday night or a Friday night. They're going out, they're dressed up, and everyone's in a slightly, you know, more elevated mood, whether that be because of drinks or you're with your mates. And so there's a lot more stimulus involved in night game. With day game, it's a little bit of, it's real hard work, especially to begin with. There's a lot of pain to go through. You know, I was lucky. I came out of university and I had this opportunity to sort of roam around the streets of London for like years to sort of hone my game. And it genuinely did take years. So I'm going to get a bit philosophical now, but what happened was, what I noticed at first is I get these highs from day game, same as night game, but you get these highs when you first go out. So your first number close, that's a real high, okay? But essentially, like over time, those bits of highs don't really amount to anything in the first few days or in the first few weeks or in the first few months, okay? It's all about the long-term progress. You've got to enjoy the process of it all. It's really, really important to think about day game in a way where, you know, you're like, okay, I'm in this for the long run. This isn't going to be easy. You know, I know it's, you know, going to take a long time for me to fit into where, you know, the social aspects, or you going into just being able to talk to a girl might take a month or two. But for someone else, it might take a day or two. So, for different people, it'll take different times. But at the same time, everyone has their journey. But the long process over a year is when you can genuinely look back in Daygame and go, right, I genuinely have improved this side of my life, that side of my life, because it's a long-term activity. So as I said, Nightgame is very specific. It's a theatre. You can get good at acting in a certain role very quickly. But Daygame, it's much more inclusive in terms of life. It's all about life. It's all about you being a beautiful man generally. So, and it's a bit annoying because if I am not doing like good things today, if I'm not actually going out and putting my heart and soul into my life and improving myself today, guess what? That'll affect next week. Okay? If I've had a bad week, if I've just been messing around, slobbing around, not doing things that I feel, perhaps like for me, it's reading, it's going to the gym, I might not look like it, but I do every now and again. But when I do those things, I just get high on life. It's so good. I think hand on heart, everyone knows when they're doing something that is adding to their life, right? And when you're doing something that adds nothing to your life, if anything, it detracts. You're distracting yourself from, the right path, whatever that may be for you. And hand on heart, what that is. I don't have to go into it. But Steve was talking about porn. Like pornography, it's like an evil thing. In terms of the fact that it just takes your energy away, and it's very much, it gives you a warped view of women, and it makes you angry, and I start thinking, very differently when I've been watching porn one day and when I haven't been watching porn one day. It's really weird. I'm much more high on life, when I'm doing beautiful, playing tennis and things like that, rather than genuine activities is what I'm talking about in life, rather than something as distracting as watching pornography. So, I hope you all get what I mean. I don't want to get too philosophical, but that's basically all summed up there. The last thing here, harsh yet fair results-based analysis. This is so important. I think especially related to Daygame, Nightgame, as I said, the results are perhaps a little bit more in your face. If you go out, you need a kiss closed, you need to drag a girl to a corner somewhere, do a bit of this, bit of that. But in Daygame, the result, because it's so much fun and it's a bit addictive and it's like this amazing social activity, when something gives you such a high, like I said, getting your first number or, doing things perhaps like, never speaking to a girl for like a few years who isn't in your social circle, and then all of a sudden you've spoken to 10 in one day, that gives you a certain high. Now, what I mean by that is, yeah, that's cool, that's amazing, but in the long term, what you really want to do is look back, maybe in 3 months' time, and go, right, did I get laid with the sort of girls I want in my life? You still have to do that, because you can't lose track of the fact that Daygame is fun. And a lot of Daygamers, especially in London, unfortunately, they're just satisfied with going around and having a good time and just like joking around with women, and that's great for your state, that's an amazing thing to do with your social muscles, because you're all building up your social muscles. But are you getting results? It's like a business, right? Sure, you've got a leeway period, every business has, to sort of like adjust yourself and end up on your feet first. But once you do, you've got to then harshly look at your results. Right? You've got to say, and to this day, I have the tendency to not do this. So I've got to harshly remind myself all the time, right, I went out today, fair enough, it was amazing, it was fun, it's good bits of chat here and there, but have I got the intention? Right? It's really, really important. Let's move on. And this leads us to, the whole idea of warming up and what it means. So, why do we need to warm up? I think there's been a lot of chat about going to the gym and nutrition and stuff. The social side is not much different, to be honest. I look at daygaming a little bit in the first hour or so. It's like if I go to the gym, I don't start off with the biggest weights I can handle. I go for the weights that perhaps lead to those weights I can handle. So I'm starting off with the smaller weights and then I'm building up. And that's the sort of thing I think you want with Daygame, where you're going out and you're heedful of the fact that, right, I need to warm up. I've been at my computer or whatever, and, I need to limber up these social muscles. So whatever it may be, there's to this day, I might use an opinion opener which is goes completely against my ethical Daygame standards in terms of opening up girls and the way it should be done. But if I need to warm up, I need to warm up. I've got no ego about it, and have a bit of fun, make sure you leave the girl with a good bit of vibe, and that's all that counts. And during my warming up times, I've had women tell me, in their 30s and stuff, girls up that I'm not into, I've seen a nice floral dress about her person, and I've just gone in and just gone, oh, you know what, I just love your dress, and I think you look beautiful today. And she's gone, oh my God, you've just made my week. And that's just me through me warming up. How beautiful is that? So the practice of it can be very, very simple as well. I'm talking opinion openers, shop girls are amazing. You've got in Melbourne, and I'm sure you have all over the world if you're watching this online, you've got department stores everywhere. Shop girls just bored out of their heads because there's not, they're just they've got a stand by these things they're about to sell, and you can just go over and just strike up any old conversation. Don't go for the number. That's just a bit, you're fobbing them off a little bit if you do go for the number. Don't go for the number. Just appreciate that you need to warm up. So the first 10 sets, I would say, minimum, especially if you're first starting out, the first 10 should be throwaways. Right, I'm going to do 10, get it out of the way, and then I'm going to concentrate on actually, practicing what I'm about to tell you. Right, visualization, just a few things that really help me out. I'm not a very spiritual person or anything like that. I'm a beautiful man from Tottenham in London. It's a bit of a hovel, and I've never, ever, had any spiritual inclinations, but visualizing is ridiculously potent. It's unbelievable. I have had moments where I've visualized certain looks. I've visualized the hair. I've visualized the sort of girl that I want in the next few days. And I've constantly just visualized it. And I've visualized taking her back. I visualized that she ends up on my bed. I meet her on the street and she beautifully ends up on my bed, right? And it happens. More often than not, it just happens. I meet that particular type of girl, and for some reason, because my energy has been flooding towards that intention, things just kick off. I just can't help it. So it's great. Sometimes I even forget that I've kind of been visualizing all that. I just sort of visualize it and I leave it there. And a few days later, I just happen to bump into that situation that I've been visualizing. It's absolutely ridiculous. So that really, really helps me. This one here, oneness. I should do the laser thing. Oneness from within to without. Again, a bit of a spiritual thing that I do. That it comes back to warming up and how effective it can be. Because at first, it's like any activity. The best tennis player in the world, Roger Federer, he still has to go onto a tennis court, even in the first round of, a rubbish competition. He still has to warm up. Still has to warm up for 2 hours. This guy's played more tennis than anyone else, right? No ego about it. He just has to, he's not one with the racket. He's just woken up. He's played yesterday, but he's woken up today. He's not one with the racket. And you could be a surfer, you could be a didgeridoo player, and I'm being a bit Australian specific here, just for you lot. But what I'm saying is, like, you've got to be one with whatever you're dealing with. And if you're not one, it all comes back down to, are you warming up, yes or no? And, that whole oneness thing, I still wake up and I'm not one with talking to women, with talking to sometimes my own mates. I'm just not when your brain is just, there's a disconnect. When you first wake up in the morning, you've made coffee with that same espresso every day, and you're just like, fuck, I've missed out putting any espresso in there, and I've just gone for the power button. Those days, it's kind of like that. You just need to warm up, and there's nothing wrong with it, If anything, if you do it in a beautiful way, it just adds to your life and it adds to other people's lives. So definitely make use of it. So yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So I'm talking about that place you reach. We all have it. It's usually at the end of the day. Is that a surprise? No, because we've warmed up, right? Where you become one with the way you act. It's really, really important. Now, I touched up on this, but I'm going to go over it again. Long-term versus short-term improvement. What I mean by that, as I said, in Daygame, there's so many highs. I think a lot of people don't keep to Daygame. Very few people I know that actually stay the course and become really good at it because it involves such hard work. Now, there are two graphs going on, I think, in your improvement trajectory, just in life generally. And it's the first graph is where you're affected by anything, like during the day. So if I tell you, oh mate, you might be just walking around and you see $50 on the floor, and you say, oh, all right, that's just affected you for 5 minutes, hasn't it? You go, oh, that's like goaded you up a little bit. I've won $50 out of nowhere. That's beautiful. But that doesn't affect you as a long-term person. Do you see what I mean? That has no long-lasting effect unless you just master the art of winning $50 every day. You hang out at the right spots every day. That has no robbing grannies. Just one example. But what I'm saying is that has no long-term effect on how you're going to end up as a man. These isolated incidents. It's the same with Daygame. The first number you get, the first few amazing vibes you get has no sort of effect on your long-term status. Your core is still your core. This is why Daygame needs years. Because you're developing that other bit of line that goes up very slowly, that other line, that core, that doesn't get affected very easily. The little highs don't really in the short term have no effect on it. So what you've got to watch out for is, and appreciate, is the fact that you're developing but slowly. Yeah, sure, you've had a high or you've had a low, but that's when it's like if you zoom out from that, that's going like that, but very slowly. Very slowly, it's going up. It's not that, it's that. This, it's not that. So in the long term, it means nothing. So yeah, the longer, I always thought, 3 years into it, I thought I had it sussed. And now 3-4 years later, I couldn't, if I look back, I knew nothing. Not nothing, but you know what I mean. You just develop in a richer way. What's beautiful about Daygame is you do it on your own watch. You do it anytime, anywhere. I've had crazy experiences that I couldn't even sort of dream of, to be honest. Just through Daygame. And just through going out there and time again, failing, getting up, dusting myself off, going at it again. And I'm going to show you a clip in a bit where it's a bit surreal. She gives me a really good interaction, but 100 fails before that to get to that level. It's not personal, it's emotional. This is really important. When we're sort of engaging girls, it's never, never, never personal towards us, their reaction. Never. They go by their emotions. They've evolved to go by what they feel. Okay? So it's just a reflection of who we are that day, right? Or who we are in that moment. It's just a little reflection of our status, our state. So this is why it's so important to warm up and to do things that add to your life. Because today will affect that girl you will meet in 3 months' time. And it's not emotional how she reacts to you. It's not personal how she reacts to you. This is the problem. This is when our egos muck things up for us a little bit. It's completely based on that instantaneous emotion she gets from you. So that's all it is. Once you understand that, you get to be a lot more chilled out about the way they sort of react. And you don't become as reactive. So that's really, and not being reactive is the ultimate, Zen being. So, all right, so, okay. Now, I collaborate with Daygame.com a lot. Who's heard of that company? Very cool. The place to go to for Daygame queries. So this is my mate Andy Osho. I kind of started off Daygame.com with in London. We kind of came up with this. He's an amazing designer. We both came up with this really cool diagram. If you keep this in your head, this'll sort of just like give you a real grounding and basis in terms of how to operate during Daygame. Right, so let's get to the practical stuff. You've warmed up, you've had a beautiful time, warming up, and you've got to go through these now. This is when, like I said, you've got to have a results-based analysis to the fun. This is when the hard graft begins. So you do the attention snap. And what that means is when you go up to a girl, she's got no idea in Daygame what's going on. In club game, it's pretty set, isn't it? The parameters are set. Everyone knows what they're doing. She's not wearing that dress. She's not piled on all that makeup for no reason. She's going in there. She knows she'll be hit on, and it's totally game on, But in Daygame, she's completely off guard. She's got no idea what's going on, and you've got to. But what's great about women is within seconds, they'll know the full story. Within seconds of looking into her eye, she knows she's being hit on. And whether that you're projecting a good bit of yourself or that she might be into or not, that's another question. But the attention snap, it's just so important, because that kind of, once her attention is on you, and it's not thinking about, I've got to go to work, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. Once her attention is completely focused on you, which it should be with a strong vibe, once you go in there with a strong vibe, it will be focused on you. You're her world. That's the idea, basically. I'll talk you through the elements that go into that, but basically the idea is she forgets about everything. You know that sort of background noise that we all have in our heads, the screensaver for that day, whatever it is, whatever we're thinking about? That kind of is, like that's blown out of the water. You're now her world, okay, for those few seconds. What you do with it is another matter, but you've got to start off that way. Okay, now prehistory. This is a very, very simple sort of just laying down the law for her, just telling her what's going on, really. So my one is, I literally just saw you over there, wherever it may be, or I just saw you crossing over. from the other side of the road, or I just saw you doing this, I just saw you doing that, and I had to come over and say, I thought you looked really nice. It could be as simple as that. The reason it's so simple is because you don't want to complicate things, because it's already a little bit of a crazy thing you're doing. The reason in nightclubs you need like crazy openers and impressive like little tricks here and there is because, you know, the girl knows what's going on. So you need to amplify things a little bit, you know? But in Daygame, you kind of have to tone it down a little bit. It's kind of the opposite. They're completely different animals. What you've got to realize is she is not in the mindset of being picked up. So you say a really simple, nice, easygoing sentence like, I literally saw you and I had to come over and say, I thought you look really nice. You'll see in the clip I play. It's very easygoing, but anything more than that, anything more complicated than that, then her brain is like on overdrive. It's like, what the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck? So you've got to calm things down, right? Because it's already, can you appreciate how it's already a bit of out of the blue thing, you know? So that's why you've got to keep it so simple. All right, observational statement. That is basically anything you've observed about her. It could be a walk. It could be, I wouldn't mention her walk if it's a bad walk, don't mention it. Just if it's a good walk, just say I love how stylish it is. Don't approach any girls with bad walks. That's not a good vibe anyway. But yeah, so like it could be a floral dress she's wearing. So you go over to her and you just say, I love how, you know, summery you look, especially in Australia now. Girl, I think, no, I don't, it's another, but the girls are just like loving their dresses and stuff, and it's just about, you know, just mentioning something as simple as that. Nothing complicated. This is the thing. The more complicated it is, the weirder it is. Do you see what I mean? Because it's like, whoa, you're just going, you're already doing such an amazing, outlandish thing by just going over to her. And especially the way I do it, which is, you know, going straight in front of her, not messing around. I can demonstrate this actually. Anyone up for being in this bit of footage? Yeah? All right, very eager. Hello. All right, so basically, it's as I said, it's about snapping her out of her, you know, day-to-day mundane run-of-the-mill thinking. So and I always approach from the back to the front. So even if they're coming towards me, so if you're coming towards me, I might, if she gives me a bit of eye contact, it's even better, but I let her go. I don't just say, hey. Unless you're on a beach and, you know, you're in, what's this area in Australia, Cairns or something? If you're like in an area where everyone's partying and maybe in Croatia or something where people are just like on a promenade, just walking around, sure, that's different, but 95% of cases, I would let them go. And so I would let him go. Her, definitely. We haven't got much space, so so she's walking at this point, so stand there, and so I've let her go, and she keeps walking. No, don't keep walking, right? So what I do is, I go like that, depending, I've got a pace, her pace, this is very individual, this bit. If she's walking really fast, then I've got to like run in front of her a little bit and come in a little bit more, you know, with a bit more space, right? But if she's just ambling along, then I'll sort of amble into her view. So, okay, let's just do it properly. Let's try and keep within there. All right, so I'll go, hey, sorry, can I just tell you something really quickly? And I've kind of spread my body language a little bit, but the most important thing is, what I found, this is the most, after years of doing it, this is completely the most effective way, bar none, because this is how mates talk to each other. Body language precedes thought, so that's what I found out. This is how mates interact. This is not how mates interact. This is, when you're comfortable with someone, this is not how you interact, right? So you can't end up in any other position, forget it if you do, you've got to end up in this position. Eye contact, right, piercing into her, and literally, I just saw you, and I just thought, and you don't break eye contact for about a good 20 seconds at least. You might break it for 1 second, and then you go back on it. In the beginning, eye contact is so crucial. So it's literally like, hey, I just saw you, and I had to come over and say, I thought you looked really nice. And do you see the way I did that? I paced it a little bit. I didn't just say, hey, excuse me, I just saw you and I had to come over. I thought you looked really nice. The way you start off the conversation, the way your vibe is what her vibe is. Her vibe is a reflection of your vibe. You control, as a masculine person, you control, and whether you like it or not, you've got to sort of dominate the vibe. You could be the ponciest spiv from Chelsea or the ponciest, Herbert or anything like that. But you can be as feminine as you like. But your vibe will dominate her vibe, whether you like it or not. So you've got to be really mindful of the fact that you don't want to come across too smooth. Because if you do, it's a little bit like, okay, right, salesman-y, like, it's just weird. This should be a special moment. And, as I said, it should be, like, paced very well. Like, I'm a bit flustered, but, like, that kind of vibe. I don't know what I'm doing, but I just saw you, and it's almost like I've acted on my intentions so much that I've got no idea that I've just fucking ended up here, and I wouldn't say that, but that's the vibe, right? Okay? There's got to be a bit of vulnerability to it. If there's just too much like of you trying to, and it's not even like being dominant, like that whole idea is like, oh, you've got to go and tell the man. That's just like weak, You've got to be balanced and you've got to have a bit of vulnerability about you. Otherwise it's just not nice, So you've said that, and I'll just be like, hey, I just saw you, and I love your style. It's very sort of Melbourne.
Thank you.
Yeah. How come, like, you're so well turned out? Like, do you work in fashion? You must do.
Yeah, I do, actually.
Oh, he's just showing off now, isn't he? He's a student, I think, or something. All right, thank you for that. Cheers. Yeah, it's really important that you keep the observational statement sweet as well. As I said, uncomplicated. Just very sort of like, just say, the sweetest thing is this kind of just, it comes across like you've just said what you've seen. Because that's just no pressure. It's kind of like she doesn't feel under attack. Like, like the more complicated it is, you could say, it reminds me of like later on, it can be a bit more complicated. You could be like, it remind me like of an actress who's playing some crazy lead in the theater at the moment. That's fine, but a little bit later, a minute later, after you've done the simple stuff, otherwise it's just not normal to just go in there with like line after line and it's just pressurized and it'll put her off. Right, assumption stacking. This is when you kind of, as I said, I did a bit there. You kind of, if she's wearing a crazy floral dress, you could say, this, like, I don't know, this, you could actually be, playing at one of the theaters, doing some, I don't know, Wizard of the Oz type character. I don't know, what are you? It's just going along with the story with what you've noticed. And it's nothing, you don't have to be too witty. Just be interesting with what you're saying, really. That's all it is. Now, right, we can do this. You see the pink lines and you see the white lines, right? I don't mean the outer bits. I don't mean the whirlwind thing. I mean the shocking thing. So the white bits are you. That's your investment, your energy, everything you're putting into that moment, right? Now in the beginning, she's inputting nothing. You're inputting everything, right? So you've got, but then you see what happens. After observational statement, usually, is when they start sort of getting into it. If you've done a good approach, if your eye contact's on, and if everything is, like you've stood right in front of her and you've locked her in, then you are in terms of her responding. She will respond. She can't help but respond. So, and especially if she's responding, then her response will just come bigger and bigger. Especially like I've noticed with just yesterday, I was just out for the first time properly, and I've noticed Aussie girls love a bit of banter, and most Western European women do. You might, if you're in Eastern Europe for whatever reason, it is a slightly different game because you shouldn't expect so much investment from them. They'll stand there and give you nothing for 2 minutes sometimes, Russian-type women. But it's still on. Her body language is saying, I like you because I'm stood here, although I should walk off. I'd much rather a Russian girl who's not giving me anything back, but standing there, her body language is telling me she likes me, which is a much more powerful indicator than anything else, than an Aussie girl who's just like, or an English girl who's giving me lots of blah, blah, blah. And I know, you haven't been doing this for so long, you kind of know that the patterns that go into a good approach and not a good approach. But she's just chatty and she's just chatting away, and I'm just thinking, right, this isn't going anywhere, So it depends on what part of the world you're in sometimes, but yeah, usually it's a great indicator of how things should be going, right? So you've got assumption stacking, and then she responds to that, to that thing I was telling. Oh no, actually, yeah. Usually, as I said, with Western European women, they love a bit of banter. They've got like women's rights and stuff, so they've got to speak up, and so they'll get involved. They'll get involved with the whole idea of, I am actually like, I'm thinking I should be like open up my own production. What's my character? They'll come back with like responses and stuff, especially Aussie women I've known. Am I right, or is that just me? They love a bit of banter, right? So it's great for that. So you've got assumption stories, then you can both get into that. This doesn't have to be in order. None of this is in order. You could pick one or two even, just use those two. But the most important thing is, if we go back, this is the most important thing in Daygame, which guys miss out on, is the attraction bit. If you're not doing the attraction bit, forget everything else. Like, you can have the nicest conversation, and I've had the nicest conversation with girls for like 10, 20 minutes. I've gone straight to report, authentic communication. I should do that. And it's not going anywhere. I know it's not going anywhere because there's no spark. We're just having a chat. It's like going up to an old person at the bus stop and just striking up a bit of a chit chat. It's that kind of vibe. It's not a sexy one. You've got to remember, before this happens, before this becomes relevant here, authentic communication, and before that becomes beautiful and attractive, you must do attraction. You must do a few of these, for her to then, for this to be juicy as well, right? So a few of these has to be done. So always have a self-amusement about you. Always like enjoy yourself, and that comes from warming up. If you've warmed up properly, then you would have this vibe about you anyway. You'd be a little bit more free with how you're acting, and she can feel you're having fun anyway. She doesn't need to be with you for it to be fun, and that is the best vibe ever. You can't get a better vibe than that. Bit of knowledge is if she said, I met a girl yesterday who said, oh, I love Tokyo. I've been to Tokyo. She'd done a bit of modeling in Tokyo or something, and I've been to Tokyo. That's the time to reveal that you've been to Tokyo. And I wouldn't say, oh, me too. I wouldn't say it like that. I'd be like, oh, when I was in Tokyo, what I noticed, and she's like, what the fuck? This guy's gone to Tokyo? Not many blokes have just gone to Tokyo. It's an interesting side of you, so why not reveal it? So yeah, you get the gist of that? Just putting in knowledge in the right way, not in the wrong way. Not like, oh yeah, let me tell you another thing. I know. So for example, if she's looking for a job, oh yeah, you're new to Melbourne. I'll tell you what, I'll get you a job. I've got all the inside knowledge. Don't worry about it. That's the worst thing you could ever do, right? That's just like, you know, I'm a pussy and I'll just get a leash and put me on it. That you don't want that. What you want is like little nuggets of, I've had a beautiful life, you know? And saying it in a matter-of-fact way. So just in the way I said, oh yeah, you know what, when I was in Tokyo, what I noticed was, so it became part of the conversation, it became part of the banter. And so, talking about Tokyo, let's just keep on that. She'll go, right, challenging. So she'll go, oh yeah, Tokyo, everyone was dead friendly, weren't they? They were just like the nicest people, weren't they? I'll be like, yeah, they were quite nice, but I felt it was a little bit fake at times. It was a little bit like put on. They just have to be, they're very good at keeping to rules, so they have to be very, very polite. I feel sometimes when someone's over polite, they kind of like, it kind of renders meaningless other times when they're polite, when they're so overly, and she's like, oh, I know what you mean, yeah. There was a bit of over politeness, and that is a good challenge because we've just had an intellectual discussion about something like a society, and I've kind of like wrestled her to the ground on it. A bad challenge, which a lot of people mistake for, is she goes, I like watching tennis, and you go, oh no, I don't like watching tennis. You know, that's just, you know. So yeah, and a bit of push and pull would be, I literally have no idea. No, it would be so many things, push and pull. Let's just keep to Tokyo. I want to come up with something that's relevant. So she goes, should have prepared an example, but there's just so many like types of, push and pull is basically like her, when you're being a bit cocky and funny with her. So it could be it could literally be anything. My brain's a bit dry now, but yeah, you kind of get that. That's quite a well-known subject, isn't it? Push and pull? That's quite out there, isn't it? I don't have to like harp on about it too much. If an example does come to me in the middle of everything, I'll just blurt it out. But as I said, you don't have to do these in order, or you don't have to do this like all the time, like every single one. You don't have to, like, it's just literally 2 or 3 of those, and then you can move on to a bit of authentic communication. But you never really give it up. And can I just mention, you see there, that's your energy, and that's the pink is her energy. They've got to match each other. So you're not the clown. You're not like this high energy guy, like, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. You're not that guy. You're the guy who's just like complimenting her energy. So she's coming back with energy, you're coming back with energy, you know, and that's how it should work. Right, so, and inauthentic communication and deep rapport, as you can see, your investment is going down and her investment should be going up slightly. She should be like now, if you don't get a girl to invest, it's over from the beginning anyway. But it's a bit like if you had a dream car and I gave you that car for free, you would not treat it like the dream car you thought you wanted. You just treat it like something free you got, right? Because you've not had any, as much as it is your dream car, you've not put in any investment into it, so therefore it doesn't matter to you that much. If you've saved up 7 years of your 9 to 5 days saving up for that car, you will look after that baby like there was nothing else in your life. And if there's no investment, she doesn't, no matter how much she might like you and stuff, she won't care that much, you know? So the more investment there is, the better. So here, I'll just give you a little indication of, there has to be times when she's talking more, she's investing more, and there's a little rule with authentic communication. 90% of the time, you're speaking or she's speaking, it should kind of be about her and her world. 10% of the time should be about you and your world. But if you want to expedite things, it should be, she's interested in her world, and you're interested, let's face it, in getting with her. So just go for it, just like talk about her. Whatever it is, if she's interested in traveling to anywhere, talk about traveling, talk about your traveling experiences, that's fine. But make sure it's related to what she's interested in. It's really important. So here we've got the seduction bit. I don't know if you could just see that. Logistical, as I said, ridiculous things have happened to me during Daygame in London because I live right on Oxford Street, and that is a prime spot for, quick lays, basically. It's a bit unexpected living there. So they don't have to live on Oxford Street or live on a street where there's, a good bit of traffic all the time. You could live 20 minutes away, that's fine. But always keep in mind that girl is 20 minutes away from your bedroom, because there will be opportunities, different girls, different opportunities that arise, and different girls are differently adventurous. So if I've got a French tourist in central London and she's going back to Paris in 2 days or the next day, I'm not gonna date her, am I? I'm not gonna waste time by being all nicey. I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna take her to my doorstep and just offer her, would you like to come up? And some of the crazy things that have happened like that, it's taken me, I think the quickest was 25 minutes from the street to my bed. And once she was on my bed, because it was so intense and she was going home the next day, it just happened. Like, we both knew what was going on. It was just so intense. And it was just so sexy because of that. Now, if I'd taken her for like a 3-4 hour date, firstly, she's going home tomorrow, it's all good. You should try everything, but, you've got to keep in your head, as I said, anything is possible, So logistical leading, it's all about you always mapping your way. It's all about like, right, this girl lives here, okay. She's got to go and meet her friends in an hour, fine. Then I'll just take her for a coffee for half an hour, close her next time. Can I close her next time? Yes, I'll invite her to a restaurant near my place, and, we can hit things off from there. I'll go for the bounce back then. Power trade is very important. Girls feel really safe. I think this concept has been talked about a little bit, where you let them lead you. You kind of give them the power. You give them the power. The power is essentially yours, but you give them the power. And they love that. They love how beautiful that is, because only a strong guy would be able to, give way to, the whole, I must lead, I must be in control. And the best time to do this, actually, is when you're in your own house. So in your own house, don't act like the king. Don't act like, i.e. the dick. Like, oh, it's my house now, I've got to go here. That kind of thing is just like posturing. It's not real. And this is all through experience. This is all through me being that dick to being a beautiful man, because that dick never worked. Yeah, you've got to make her feel really welcome, especially leading up to it all. You've got to really make her feel like this is as much her idea as it is your idea. You know what I mean? So it's about like not pouncing on her. It's about like letting her, do her thing in your house. And obviously you're still leading. You're still taking her to the bedroom. You're still saying, what would you like to drink? Stuff like that. You're still going to your bedroom. You're getting on your laptop. One of the best things I do is get on my laptop and just go, where do you live? Like, especially if they're, with Google Maps, it's such an amazing thing because it gives you tons to talk about, especially with deep rapport. So I'll be like, where'd you grow up? Show me on Google Maps where you grew up. And she'll show me a neighborhood in Germany or anywhere else, in Brisbane or whatever, if you're from Melbourne. And it gives you like so much to talk about. You just go, oh, so what did you do there? Is that your playground? Is that where you kissed your first boy? Or, you know what I mean? It's just like such an amazing bit of, a bag of different things to talk about. And also, YouTube's a great idea. So just log on YouTube, give her the laptop. Again, like that's another perhaps more physical symbol of giving her the power. And just say, put your favorite music on. She'll feel a lot more comfortable with her favorite music playing in the background. And just, it feels more homely. And always ask them to take off their shoes by that. So like a golden rule. The more, talking about feeling comfortable, always, house rules, got to take off your shoes. If a girl's in her shoes in your house, what did I say about body language precedes thought? Not like if she's about to have sex, she'll never have her shoes on. So you've got to kind of make those things happen. So we've got if this physical push and pull here is just about. I would go for it at first in a very, very subtle way. So I would be lying back. I would be very relaxed, no touching, no kino. That's one of my rules. Especially if it's the first 2 dates, because all the electricity is building up between you. Imagine these waves like going like that between you. Eye contact. The more you touch, the more you're destroying those waves, the more you're disturbing those waves. Like if you're very, very comfortable with kino and it's part of who you are, you do it with your mates, then fine. Like nudging and stuff, by the way, is not what I mean. Obviously, like nudge her here and there, like if you're teaching her how to do a handshake or something, yeah, fair dues, that's all beautiful. But I mean like proper kino, I mean like putting your arm, it kind of gives her the idea, right, this guy is going to make a move when I'm back at his. So the less you've done that, the more of an adventure it is. Like she doesn't know what's going on, but she's like, she likes it. She likes the whole idea of what's going on. And she's on your bed and she expects you to pounce. It's just so obvious. You give her half an hour by herself on the laptop, like showing off to you, investing in you, going, hey, this is my favorite music video. This is one of my favorite films. Oh, have you seen this? Have you heard about that? And you're just lying back, on your bed. And the best move I make in that situation is, would you like to lie down next to me? And like with a cheeky smile, just look at them and just go, would you like to lie down next to me? And, it's so weird, it's so counterproductive. And the first few times I did it, I did it out of nerves more than anything. Because I couldn't actually I was so nervous I couldn't bring myself to pounce on her. So I was like, would you like to, I don't know, lie down next to me? And she's just like, okay, all right. Because she knows what's about to happen. She's like, you're being so beautiful in your bedroom. You're giving her this option. Who does that, It's such a nice, powerful thing to do. So yeah. And if what this physical push and pull mean, sometimes, you go for the kiss and she's like, oh, she's playing up to it. She's like, oh, no, or on the cheek or whatever. And you just play along, like freeze her out a little bit, push her out, and go back in, More often than not, it works. Let's just see. Now, these attributes, like just to wrap up, are just like, what I find, if I just keep to these, I've done 90% of my own work, and I'm pretty okay with everything. We've kind of gone through everything, but, as I said, there are such things as social muscles, and they do need to be warmed up. Nothing wrong with that. Pace and space, the way I did that approach, you've got to, the approach I'm about to do after this is in the Melbourne Centre, in the shopping centre, which is kind of outsidey and not outsidey. So I'm going to do it, I'll show you, I don't have to be as bold as I would be on a London street where she's kind of pacing along pretty fast. And then you've got, eye contact is just everything. It's a window to the soul. And as I said, if you've kind of been a beautiful man, if you've done, hand on heart, all the things that make you a beautiful man, if you're taking care of yourself, if you're putting beautiful food in your body, down to things like that, do you know what I mean? It all comes through eye contact. The problem is girls read you within minutes, if not less, especially in Daygame when it's so naked and so obvious and so raw. the truth just spills out much quicker than nightclubs. And that's the reason why you become such beautiful men at the end of it, because it's a real judgment on who you are, Daygame. It's a much more of a judgment on who you are as a man than, the theatrical arena of Nightgame. Right, gesticulation, I've not talked about that, and voice projection. Just like taking up space with your body, projecting your voice is so important, because that suggests you're a man who's comfortable taking up space. More than that, the best thing you could do, especially in crowded areas, is speak up in a way where everyone can hear what you're doing. You know why? Because you're proud of it. You're so enamored by this beautiful thing you're doing, this beautiful energy you're bringing to this girl, that you just want to announce it. You don't, otherwise, what have you got to hide? Why have you got why do you want to, not anyone to know? Because you don't feel comfortable with what you're doing, because you don't think what you're bringing to that girl, and I've gone through this, this is everything I've been through. Those days when I don't feel good, I don't feel like she deserves me, so hence I speak, so I don't want people to hear and stuff like that. The days I feel on it, and more so now than ever, because the more you progress, the better. And the days I feel on it, it's just everything flows. I don't even have to think about these things. They just flow through me, Gesticulation, I just, again, taking up space, being comfortable, penetrating her bubble. A lot of hot girls have never had, ultra hot girls, have never had a guy sort of be able to just go like that and just miss their stomach, because they're just so they don't give a fuck, they're so free, Try and do that. Watch how you act with different girls, really hot girls. You don't really want to penetrate their aura too much. They've got this protective bubble, and you're very sort of aware of it. So the more you're not aware of it, the more you're just flowing from within, from the oneness I was talking about, the more you're just in your element, the better. Zen body language, that's just the obvious a little bit, because if you're not feeling good here, everywhere from tippy toes to top of your head, she feels that. She doesn't feel relaxed. You bring the vibe, she doesn't. And as I said, it's never personal, it's emotional. Always remember that. Once you know that rule, you only grow to love women, because they're a reflection of you. They're what makes us better. I would, still be in my hovel in Tottenham, wanking away like a chimpanzee to the most lurid, decrepit porn there is on the internet. So, this it's only a testament to what I've been through in the last 7 years that I'm not that chimpanzee, basically. Loving and living the moment, and again, if you are genuinely being true to yourself, you will be in the moment. And I think that's a concept you're all familiar with. Right, I'm going to show, when I click, I'm going to show the clip, and I'm then going to talk about it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I just tell you
okay.
something really
Yeah.
quickly? Okay.
Yeah.
I just saw you,
Yeah.
and I just thought you looked really nice.
Oh, thanks, Dom. Thank you.
You look very, floral today.
Oh, it's a little bit. It's love hearts, actually. But,
Love hearts.
Yeah.
Okay. In floral shapes.
Yeah, totally. What nationality are you?
I'm English.
Yeah, no, I know. Where from?
London.
Yeah, but what else? Italian or something?
The background, yeah.
Yeah.
Bit of Greek.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, so... Okay, sorry, let's just... Okay, sorry. Let's just go back one. Yeah, okay. So I don't know if you heard quite, but I did the ad stop right in front of her. It was a pretty busy area, so she wasn't walking as fast as she would be on the street, perhaps. So I just glide into a space, straight in front, eye contact. And the reason she gives me such a good response is all because of what's coming through me. So all the things I just spoke about. That's what's, that, you'll see in a bit, like, she gives me a really good response. She starts asking me out to, hang out straight away. But that's because, I was just feeling on top of the world. I'm just like having fun. Of course she wants to be around me. Of course, girls sort of like want to be around anything that they can learn from, anything they can improve with. They just want to be around beautiful energy because they're so emotional. Because they feed off beautiful energy. Their emotions, it's like a drug for them. You have good energy, I want it, and it's that kind of vibe. With Daygame, if you go in front of her with beautiful energy, it becomes so easy. A lot of the times, like, everything just does itself. I don't have to speak too much. I don't have to work very hard. It's just, she knows and she's attracted, Similarly, as I said, I have those days where everything's gone to pot and she just knows within minutes that, no, I don't want to hang out with you. So I'm going to try and play this once more. Can you see me going? Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I just tell you
okay.
something really quickly? Okay.
Yeah.
I just saw you,
Yeah.
and I just thought you looked really nice.
Oh, thanks, darling. Thank you.
You look very, like, floral today.
Oh, it's a little bit. It's love hearts, actually. but-
Love hearts.
Yeah.
Okay. In floral shapes.
Yeah, totally. What?
Can you feel how easygoing I am? Oh, I love hearts. Oh, cool. In floral shapes. And it's that kind of energy that I'm talking about. And what was funny, she said love hearts. I didn't feel like I should add to that. I was just so relaxed. I'm just like, oh, I love hearts. One of the best like little conversational tricks is just repeating what they're saying, because it's an indication of how relaxed you are. You just look at her and just repeat what she just said, because it's the most low pressure thing you can do. You're not feeling like you should bring anything more than your beautiful self. You're just like, oh, okay. I study science. Oh, okay, study science. And she then feels like, yeah, I do not just science, I do this, I do that. Because you're just so relaxed with it. You're just like, okay, well, yeah, okay, but what else? So it's that kind of vibe. Play it one more time, and I think we go off for like a coffee within a minute. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I just tell you
okay.
something really
Yeah.
quickly? Okay.
Yeah.
I just saw you,
Yeah.
and I just thought you looked really nice.
Oh, thanks, darling. Thank you.
You look very, like, floral today.
Oh, it's a little bit. It's love hearts, actually. but-
Love hearts.
Yeah.
Okay. In floral shapes.
Yeah, totally. What nationality are you?
I'm English.
Yeah, no, I know. Like, we're from.
London.
Yeah, but what else? Like Italian or something?
A background, yeah.
Yeah.
Bit of Greek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, you've got very nice features.
Thank you. Like, she goes to me, you've
I'm
got very
guessing
nice
you're English
features.
originally.
I don't. I look like a
Oh,
beast.
Most
God,
Aussie.
But
yeah.
a handsome beast at that, all right?
I think
before
most
you-
of us probably are.
But
Do you-
what I'm
can you,
saying
like, still
is,
trace your background
girls
before-
grapple at anything.
Um,
If they fancy you, they'll grapple at anything to compliment you with, and if they don't, they'll grapple at anything to beat you down with. So, oh no, he was wearing the wrong sort of shirt. It's bullshit. She just didn't like you. You know what I loved is I usually don't like blondes, but he was such a hot blonde. Bullshit. He just liked you. That's all it is. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I just tell you
okay.
something really
Yeah.
quickly? Okay.
Yeah.
I just saw you,
Yeah.
and I just thought you looked really nice.
Oh, thanks, darling. Thank you.
You look very, like, floral today.
Oh, it's a little bit. It's love hearts, actually. but-
Love hearts.
Yeah.
Okay. In floral shapes.
Yeah, totally. What nationality are you?
I'm English.
Yeah, no, I know. Like, we're from.
London.
Yeah, but what else? Like Italian or something?
A background, yeah.
Yeah.
Bit of Greek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, you've got very nice features.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing you're English originally. Like most
like
Aussies.
Irish, yeah.
Irish,
Yeah,
okay.
one of those things, you know. I think most of us probably are. But
Can you like still trace your background before?
no. Or kind
I'll
of.
just talk about
like
that a little bit.
4
Listening, she
generations,
gives you all the
5
conversations
generations,
you need in
but
Daygame.
other than that,
So
not
she was
really.
talking about
Like,
backgrounds.
so
I talk
came
about
over from
backgrounds.
Ireland.
I
Are you
keep to
here?
her
What are you
subject.
doing here?
I
Are you
don't just go.
Yeah.
Oh right, yeah. But what about Do you work in fashion? Did
I
she just
think
give
about
me a
10
topic to
days.
talk
I've
about?
not bought a ticket anywhere else yet. So I
Okay.
think I'll stay over about 10 days, then go to Sydney,
Oh, sweet.
then have to see Queensland. Apparently the lagoons there are amazing.
Yeah, man. Try and get to Byron Bay.
Yeah, I've heard so much about that.
Yeah.
And Cairns,
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
Definitely. What are you up to?
I don't know.
Do you want to go grab a burger or something?
Yeah.
There's a place down
It's
on
not
the
always
water.
like that.
Like
It's
it's
not-
a little bit more really mean barbecue.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about $8 or something.
Yeah.
Alright.
I'm meeting a friend in like 15 minutes, but yeah.
15 minutes. Okay, well let's
Right.
not go that far. Let's just go chat or something.
You want to grab a coffee or something?
Yeah, let's do it.
So typical Aussie girl inviting me for a burger. That's a bit crazy, isn't it? I've never had that before. No wonder there's an obesity crisis. But yeah, no, it's just like she was lovely. She was actually quite Russian looking. Like it's just my type. And you know, it's just that I've had 100 where in the last week or so that hasn't gone like that. And then you sort of get rewarded a little bit for all the work you put in. As I said, it all affects your vibe, Everything you do, everything you are as a man before that happens. Yeah, I think that's about it. And yeah, I can take some questions now.
Let's give it up. And guys, we got some time for questions, so probably 3 or 4.
Thanks, Ed. In the daytime, there's a lot of single sets, but you do sort of encounter group sets.
Yeah,
How do
sure.
you handle those?
Well, yeah, that's a good question, actually. I haven't touched upon that. Basically, you're talking about 2 girls, or 2 or more?
2 or more.
All right, well, let's go through it. 2 girls. What happens is there's either one really attractive one and one you're not into, let's say, and then there's 2 girls who are both quite attractive, and it could be both. It's a hard call. So in the first situation, when there's one who's obviously hotter, there's no bullshit going on. I just go straight up to her because they both feel like you're being real. If you just go up to the hot one and just like completely ignore the munter, you just it's English terminology there for you. But you just go, I just saw you and I just thought you looked really nice, and you just completely like she's not even there. And afterwards, when you've done your thing and you've had a bit of a moment, is this your friend? Hi, how are you? And you just switch back onto her. Because they both love your realness. The hot girl knows she's hot in that equation, and the munter knows she's a munter in that equation. So it's just the way it works, and they're both relaxed about it, So yeah, that's the best way to deal with that situation. But when they're both as cute as each other, I'm talking one's an 8, one's a 7 kind of thing. So kind of edging it. And I would just open them like they were one girl. So I just go, hey, I just saw you both and I just thought you look really nice. I love your style together and stuff like that. And then, because it's like really chilled, low pressure. And then you sort of choose the one you fancy and you go for the number at the end. Or you just give her the phone, say, yeah, just put your number in there. I'd love to invite you out sometime. Yeah. For more, I would say it becomes, you're talking about 4 or more. It's a little bit, it becomes a bit of a show, Sure, the best thing to do is actually just go for the hottie. And a lot of the times, especially in Scandinavia, where women are very empowered, her friends would walk off and they'd just leave her alone to it, especially if her friend sense that she likes you and you're a cool guy. They'll just, there might be the one who start, but if she likes you, if you've made a good enough impression, she'll get, and even if it takes 2 minutes to get her a number, get out of there, that's a very solid close because she appreciates how brave that is. So yeah, okay.
Oh yeah, I was just going to ask. Say you're out, day gaming, and you get in kind of a conversation with a girl. How do you deal with the whole being honest about what you're doing in the city? Like, it's not like they're like, what have you been doing today? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, this is what I was saying about having a beautiful life, because me, I'm culpable of, doing this more than anyone. So if I were to just do this, I'd have not much to talk about with women, to be honest, and I'd be just not a very interesting person. The more things I do outside chasing skirt, the better. It's just that's the way it goes, because everything just enriches you as a man. And you've got to really be mindful of how everything's an experience and everything's towards enrichment. So, yeah. Are you saying how I like? Other bit, like if you work in IT, say I work in IT, just don't harp on about it. If you work, on the beach or whatever, just say it and don't harp on about it. But a lot of the times, girls aren't that interested. They want to know, but they're not that interested. They're more interested in what they're interested in. So yeah, mention it and then keep to what they're interested in.
All right, we got 2 more questions here.
Hey, yeah, that was brilliant. Thanks. So there's this moment just before she asks you out where you cool right down. You even cross your arms.
Yeah, I do that a lot. Yeah, this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just before, and then it's almost as if she starts investing in you even more. Is that a strategy or?
You know what? It's kind of become something in London because a lot of people just sort of watch my videos and stuff, but I just did it because I feel relaxed this way. I do this with mates when I do this. I adopt this body language when I'm dead relaxed, and girls do it as well, by the way. If you watch out for girls who are really, really relaxed in your presence, they'll do the legs cross. It is so indicative of how she feels around you. Especially in Daygame. If after a minute she does this, she's complete, and always, it's not she doesn't have to have that pose to suggest comfortability, but yeah, definitely. It's just I suppose it just anything that you do when you're feeling most comfortable, then that's most effective, really. I suppose that's just one of those things, but I suppose, it is good because it's kind of standoffish, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the talk. Just one quick question. I just wanted to know how you calibrate whether to, number close them or take them out a coffee date right away.
Yeah, very good question. I always would go for the coffee date because even if it is for 5 minutes, and fucking hell, you're not out of options in Melbourne, are you, for a coffee date? So, what's going on? Did you get free coffee imported here? What's going on? It is basically the thing that certifies her getting back to you, taking her for a coffee. So I would always, the best way to number close is, you know what, I have about 10-15 minutes before I meet a mate. Would you like to grab a coffee? Shush. Would you like to grab a coffee? And because you've said I've got about 10-15 minutes, before I get back to work, whatever it is, would you like to grab, even if it is genuinely for 5 minutes, when you text her the next time, she's not thinking, oh shit, I'm going on a date. She's just thinking, oh fuck, that'll be cool. Going out with that guy again that I had a nice coffee with and, had a nice time with. Yeah, sure, cool, let's go for a coffee. So it becomes a lot more casual. It doesn't become this crazy date scenario. And another thing is when you do number close, that's quite an important point actually. You're very short about it. You're just even if it is, say you don't have the opportunity to take her for a coffee, you just go, you know what, I'd love to invite you out sometime. What's your number? That's simple, and you just don't give any reasons. You've got to have a very strong ending, to it. So very, very decisive way of doing that. And but always, if you have the coffee option, always go for the coffee option. Is that it?
Yeah,
that's it.
Let's give it
I
up.
can talk to you later, but cheers, man. Cheers for inviting me. Thank you.
Great speech.
Thank you.